All right. It is indeed a very, very good evening to you. It is a very, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It is the Thursday. Okay. It is a Thursday of the 23rd of March 2023, tarehe 23 siku ya Alhamisi. Siku ya Alhamisi tarehe 23 mwezi wa 3 mwaka 2023. Natumai kwamba uko salama. You had a very good day. Nairobi kuko venye kuko. Unaona mataa kidogo zimewaka pale Nairobi kidogo. We still here. Please let us know where you took us from this evening. It's men only, the Thursday edition of the 23rd March 2023, and it begins right now. Kama kawaida tuko na Jacob Aliet. Na pia tuko na Silas Nyanchwani Kisiora. Na alisema atakuja Levi. He'll join us next week so that we can keep the conversation going. And as you've seen on the poster as well, the topic tonight is financial abuse in marriage. Financial abuse in marriage. Ni mambo zanga gani ambao wanaume wanapitia kwenye ndoa kwa mambo ya kiela na kipesa. We have that conversation tonight. Kama kawaida, please when you join in, when we get to know that you're watching us. Please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. Hapa ni men only, tafadhali wa mama, but women who are raising men, who are raising boys alone, you're welcome, so that we can help you try and understand how the dynamics of manhood works and how you can help your boy to be a better man. Although tulisema last time ya kwamba a woman cannot raise a man. I don't know if that is still the status. Jacob.
Yes, so of course what we said was that a woman can raise and nurture a boy. Mm-hmm. Once he becomes a boy, the man should take over and raise him to manhood.
Okay.
Yes.
So we said a woman can raise a boy, but a woman cannot raise a man.
Yes.
That was the story. Silas, you ndio bado status.
But once the boy is like a teenager, the man has to take up the responsibility of shaping this young boy into a man. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. That's it. So, but you welcome women who are raising boys, right?
Yeah.
Who are raising men.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They are very welcome.
So women wanted to be part of the discussion.
Yes.
And because this discussion might touch on them,
yes,
they should tune in.
And also, even there are women who have brothers who they feel need help. And there are also women whose husbands they feel have lost the way. So those kinds of women normally find a lot of interest in masculinity content. And so don't be surprised if you find the women tuning in.
Of course, they're already here. So I'm not surprised. All right, good evening. Please let us know where you are watching us from this evening. Tafadhali tuambie unatazama kutoka wapi. Chege wa Kamondo. Let's do this. Thank you. Good to see you. Judith Jabkema. Yes, we have shared. Thank you so much. Andrea Messis. Good morning. Moses Gigita. All right. Good evening, gentlemen. Broadcast already shared. Lakini hapo kwa time mnatuchenga kidogo. Pole, tumechelewa kidogo lakini basi tutafika masaa yake. Poleni. We apologize for that. Lorraine Muyale. Good evening to you guys. Ready for the topic. Haya. Lorraine, the topic today is financial abuse in marriage. And of course, as you guessed, we'll be speaking about women abusing men in marriage. Financial abuse, that is women abusing men financially in marriage. So you're right in. Stephen Dungo is confusing us. So, Pole. Good evening. Kwani nimesema aje? Stephen Dungo. Nimesema good evening. Pole. Haya. It is indeed a very good evening to you. Watu wa YouTube, mambo vipi? YouTube guys, good evening. Hope you're doing well as well. When you join in, please when you we get to know that you're watching us. And after please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is men only, the 23rd of March 2023. Aliet, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Mambo mapya ya wiki?
Mambo iko sawa. Tumengangana na maandamano sasa. We hope that we will be able to stave off or avoid the one for next week. So if we can find a solution, the better.
Hautaki watu waende shopping. Nasikia watu wengi walikuwa shopping.
Ilikuwa shida sana. I think a lot of people who are affected was not highlighted.
Yeah, by the way.
Yeah.
I was listening to some guys and, the message out here is that, nothing happened. People were demonstrating and all that. But there are people who are counting losses. A lot of guys were telling me, you need to come down to downtown and see the kind of damage that happened. There are buildings there around Afya Center which was stoned. Things were taken, TVs were taken. Kuna waseo kuko supermarket na isikia inaitwa Mwindi Mweusi. Sijui hapo kwa Embakasi.
15 million.
Nasikia walibeba stock.
Yeah.
Lakini nasikia huyu jamaa pia acheze. Nasikia watu wamerudi na mzigo. Hivyo nilisikia. Nataka kwenda kufanya research. Nasikia niambia umeenda naye. Haya. Sawa, vile uliyetoka naye utarudisha.
Okay.
I'm actually going to confirm that. I heard that. So we need to see what has happened. And the men who are in, please tag another man. Shida wanaume watakangi wanaume wenzao wapone. Please tag another man. Kama umeingia hapa kwenye broadcast, please tag 2, 3, 4, 5 men and ask them to come and join the broadcast so that we can have an awesome conversation. All right, apart from Mandamano, what else have you picked this week?
Other than that, of course, we are celebrating the rains are back. Our environment will soon be turning green. Watu sasa wanapanga kupanda mahindi and all that. So I think things are looking up.
Things will get better. Yeah. All right, Silas.
Someone from Kitengela, we thank God for the rains.
Even today you're looking different.
The dust and the heat.
You're looking like you came from the what neighborhood? Suburbs. The green suburbs.
Yeah, it's yeah.
You're looking fresh.
Yeah. The rains were long.
Kitengela sasa vumbi hakuna.
Kuna vumbi. Yeah.
At least naona mnanua shati ambaye vumbi inapotelea. Ikoje iko not.
Hii ni ya kuficha.
How was your week like?
My week has been pretty good. Of course, the maandamano also affected us. Some of us are businessmen. And a weekday lost, we count the losses. But we also understand where rail is coming from. So it's our prayer that they'll sit down with the president and we try and find a solution. Because it's not really sustainable, those mandamanos. Especially when the outcome is sort of like we know the outcome already, so the sooner they can fix that, the better. And of course, there's been unfortunate news from Kisii about the American couple who were killed.
Yeah.
That has also really affected me about my motherland, because that is a kind of violence that is very specific to Kisii. Yeah, so that has been, I think, the only cloud in another is brilliant sky in the week.
Lakini Kisii pia inakuwa na shida gani bro? Si kwa baya, but yani nini inaendeleanga huko? And I've actually said I'm going to visit Kisii deliberately. And I want you to accompany me this week. Nataka uende unionyeshe hawa watu wanakaanga aje na shida yao ni gani. I really want to understand.
I think there is a lot
what goes on there?
There's population pressure. There's conflict about land, the shrinking land in farming space and all that. And of course, we have our own internal, unique problems that we are dealing with. But it's all about population and the diminishing resources.
Okay.
Everything revolves around that.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Kwa mambo ya maandamano, unaona kama saa hizi tumeambiwa mama, najua mko hapa, mnatufuata. By the way, women are very many on this on the wall. On the YouTube channel as well. There are very many. Lakini tumeambiwa mama, kaeni kando kidogo. Hii maneno ni ya wanaume. Lakini wamama wajaandamana. Amekubali matokeo. So don't you think also as a country we need to get to a point whereby we accept? Like if you beat me, Silas, na kwamba yenyewe bro, hii naye, yule ninyorosha. That's sportsmanship. Kama venye Manu alipigwa 7-0.
Wakakubali.
Mliandamana Manu? Kuandamana. Waliteseka kidogo nini and they moved on. That's sportsmanship, because a lot of things get affected by all these political razzmatazz and competitions that don't affect, because you realize that whether they talk or not, there's no benefit for the common man. This was the same story in 2017. And when Nansha came in, loyalties changed. There was no benefit for the common man. So I think we need to get to a point whereby it's your business, you do your business up there, but don't involve us. If you guys are fighting up there, just fight there. But don't make me fail to come to work. Don't make my business suffer. Ati come and I get dropped over things that I don't. Kura ilisha, mimi nikapiga kura nikakuja nyumbani. Sasa mimi nikosa kuja. Actually didn't work on that day. We didn't have a show because the other guys were rioting out here. So don't you guys think it needs to get to a point whereby politics also needs to be like sportsmanship, where mazee mingi kucharaza unakuwa yenyewe Bitok. I thought I would, but I did not. We ulinyorosha hapa and we move on. Where pia ukininyorosha na kama yenyewe, Jacob, yenyewe nimekubali. Is it not time we had really real sportsmanship?
Yeah.
And given that actually the people who affect amen. Wanaume ndio wanatukaranga hii nchi. What do you think, Silas?
I think we're almost there, especially this year's election. If you noticed, even the rate at which those who had been beaten were conceding, I don't think we've had so many court cases. We're seeing very big men like governors, mtu amekuwa defeated, just comes out, he congratulates the winner, and he moves on. Okay. And I think the only problem we have, there's still a very serious trust deficit at the top. Okay. And the manner in which IBC conducts the elections. but quite
Yeah, I think that's the thing. So it's just that, our political environment and atmosphere, the way it is, it's sort of very polarized. And it's like someone is feeling their
Vigislao Masharia. Please keep tagging them. Keep tag all the men to come in here. Henry Onkoba watching from USA. What are USA? Mambo vipi? Good morning. John Mwangara tuned in from Oman. Good to see you guys from Oman. Moses Jigitawa ameitwa. Johnny Big Bad Hockey ameitwa pia. Ngato David ameitwa. Kevin unaitwa na Senior V Fargiza. Majina ziko hapa. Festus Muridi unaitwa. Amuka kama unaitwa kuja hapa. Friki. Hey, good evening to you. Chapter Nandi tuned in from Kapsabet. Tafadhali Chapter Mnandi wewe leta ndume ita ndume hamusha ndume hapa kuja sikia maneno. Jesse Brown unaitwa. Jeriot Asania Gilbert Sigei unaitwa. Kibrono Nick unaitwa. Shadi Kaikiru unaitwa. Gerald Makajosi tuned in from Omabe Makajosi. Fagisa ameitwa Case Parks. Ile majina nanga hapa online ya tari. Steven Dungu anaitwa Casper, anaita Casper Sitemba. Kalia Kipchumba and Kevo Sharks, please join us men only. Asante. Moses Gitao Kevo anaitwa. Kwanza Kevo inafaa uamuke mahali ulipo. Sijui ni Kevo mgani lakini amuka. Bora wewe ni Kevo. Join the conversation. Good to see you. Kevo ameitika. Karibu Kevo. Jesse Brian Senior anaitwa. Alright. Anasema sauti imepotea. Sauti ipo. Jesse Brian, good to see you. Moses Gitao Senior C Vigiza sauti. Watu wanasema sauti iko na shida gani? Okay. Please sauti tutaangalia mdogo tukisonga. Alright, please check sound. I think hizo frames ambazo zimekatwa mpya nikapoteza sauti. Please ensure that you can source all the sounds. James Geti tuned in. Asante. Duncan Mutinda in from Embu. Kipkoech Fred tuned in. Nyabuto tuned in. Asante. Masiga Ki naona umeingia na ukanyonga tena lakini haya karibu sana. Alright, let's go straight to the conversation of the night, and it's about financial abuse in marriage. First of all, how would you define financial abuse, Jacob?
I think it's a situation where one particular partner, now if you're looking at a situation where we have a married couple, or sometimes even couples who are not married, people in long-term relationships, where one partner takes control of another partner's ability to control their finances or ability to have finances. And I think it's important to be clear that financial abuse takes place both ways. In men, when men are financially abusing women, it normally takes the form of a man telling the wife, either you don't need to work, I'm going to provide, and they don't provide. Or the one that we are going to talk about, which is normally now how women financially abuse men, is where a woman burdens the man with so much financial responsibilities. This man does not get any breathing space. And I've seen cases where the woman takes loans without telling the husband. Sometimes even putting collateral of their house or car on these loans, even from Shylocks. And the husband is forced later to have to come to rescue his property. So, and the most common one, which is related to the discussions we've had earlier, is where a woman, and I think one of these celebrities, I don't know whether it was DNA or DNG, he talked about it where you find a woman is making the man try to lead a lifestyle that strains them financially. And at the end of the day, you find many men retire into poverty. A man who was productive his entire life, he ends up retiring into poverty because he spent his entire income trying to satisfy the never-ending demands of his wife. So that is also a form of financial abuse. Yeah.
Okay. Silas.
Yeah, so financial abuse is basically a situation where one partner takes advantage of of another partner to exploit their resources. Yeah. So this is a bit of disruption.
No, ni mwoga sana. Kwani umekula nini yana? Kidogo imeshika hata wameko kukimbia. Alright, okay. Financial abuse in reality, it's a situation whereby you're saying someone else takes advantage of the other person.
Taking advantage of the other partner. And in this case, of course, for tonight, we are talking about how modern women, especially among millennials, take advantage of their men's finances. Yeah, whereby one is not being honest about their finances. One is not using or utilizing the man's resources responsibly. There is that joke that if a woman goes shop on her own in the supermarket, she'll just shop for very specific things. But if as a man you give her your card to go and shop with, she'll fill baskets upon baskets of the whole thing. Yeah. So it takes different forms. The financial abuse, it takes different forms. Taking advantage willfully, like unataka kutumia tu mali ya mtu vibaya. Yeah.
There's a very common one. I think it is normally in this radio talk show host Maina Kageni and the others. You find a situation where you have a married man, he's struggling to pay rent. Okay, and one day when he's really struggling with this rent, maybe sharing with his neighbor how much the rent is straining him. And the neighbor tells him, why don't you just talk to the landlord? The landlord is very, very understanding. So this neighbor tells him, I don't have this landlord, where can I get him? And he tells him, it's okay, you can call the number. No, me, I normally use the agent. Then he tells me, I have the landlord's number. So when he's given the number, he realizes it's his wife's number.
Wow.
Okay? So we have, like Silas has mentioned, we have people who conceal their income. So
bibi yako ni landlord yako.
Yes. So that is financial abuse. And a very common one where these women, I don't know why they do it. I find it very sick. You find a woman is in a marriage. The husband is really struggling. This woman is putting up flats in another part of town. And she's busy building. This guy is really struggling hand to mouth. And yet this woman is just watching. Bwana akienda kazi asubuhi, yeye pia ametoka anaenda kwa mjengo zake, anatengeneza flats. She's becoming very, very rich under the nose of the husband. So that again is also very common, and it's just an extension of this thing people like saying, his money is ours, my money is mine.
My money is mine.
Yeah.
Okay. So how often does this happen? How often in marriages or in relationships, how often does it happen? What is the frequency?
It's too frequent.
Okay.
You can always put like if you take like a modern marriage, especially in a city like Nairobi, among millennials and both couples are working, more than half of those marriages, the men are abused financially. Yeah. And like women do this intentionally. That's what really like hurts about this whole scenario. And most men don't know how to negotiate their way out of this, because part of the reason is that they want to play heroes. And part of the reason is just the traditional expectation of what men are supposed to do. But see, it was like that when men used to earn more than women. But now you have like in as many families as possible where a man and a woman, you are earning the same, or increasingly your wife is earning more than you, but you're still taking care of more responsibilities than your wife. Like you could be earning 100,000 and your wife earns 200,000, but with the 100,000, you are doing more for your family. And on top of that, remember, men, we have black tax. Still, men suffer more, or we pay more black tax than women.
Of course, definitely. Okay. Jacob, how often does it? Have you interacted with men who are struggling with such level of abuse?
Yes, I have. And I think we will talk about the dimensions, because Silas has said it, they do it intentionally. There are also women who don't do it intentionally. They do it because they are foolish, for lack of a better word. For example, a woman is from a fairly humble background, okay? She, growing up, they struggled, they went to ordinary schools, they lived in an ordinary house. But suddenly when she gets married, she places all these grandiose and unrealistic standards on her man to meet. I know of guys who, because the wife insisted that they take the kids to certain schools, this guy spends his entire income on school fees and school transport and everything related to schools. By the time he pays rent and food, this guy, if you look at him, he has a collar that he's wearing a shirt that has a torn collar, and he's spending more than 300,000 on educating these kids. So some women do it just to fit in, okay, keeping up with the Joneses, as we call it. But also there's an aspect of it that comes from narcissism. Narcissistic personality disorder, for example, it comes when someone has a very strong need for adoration. They need to be elevated. So you'll find that a woman, for example, tells you, no, that we cannot live in Umoja. You know, watu wa Umoja, ama watu wa Kayole, they are like this. We cannot live like that. And many men, because of... Silas mentioned one example. Maybe they were taught that it's a man's job to take care of a woman. He's going to struggle to meet these standards. But what happens with this woman, if she's a narcissist, a narcissist has what we call a false self. Her need for grandiosity and adoration is a bottomless pit. Even if you take her to Lavington, when you're in Lavington, she'll want you to change the car, she'll want you to change where you go on holiday, she'll want you to change where you take the kids to school. So it just continues. So part of it is a psychological disorder, but also on the man's side, it's a part of codependency, where the man is in need for acceptance and validation from his wife. So it's also part of what we call unplugging. A man needs to be able to make himself his mental point of origin. But there are men whose their wife's approval is actually the mark of success that they use to guide them. That's like their guiding compass. If his wife is unhappy, he feels he has failed as a man. So he will do everything to satisfy or to make his wife happy, even if it's beyond his own capacities. Yeah.
All right. Have you ever experienced it, sailors?
No. I've never experienced it, but I know my friend, especially my male friends, they have experienced this. Okay. And we talk about it a lot. And what hurts most is that sometimes even men, they don't know that they're being financially abused. Okay. Yeah, because there's a way that some of these women, they can make you feel like you're doing the right thing and you're doing it for the right reasons. You know, the woman will tell you, we're trying to give our kids the best foundation. You know, you're trying to live in a safe environment. You know, that thing of keeping up with the Joneses, unataka nani atuona aje. You know, like there's a way that a woman tries to make you feel like, how will I put this? Ile design demo anakuambia, hey, Jacob mazee walibai Mercedes bana. Maybe mnabai kwa hapo unajua Jacob mazee, they're so young but washana Mercedes, you know. So there's a way that women communicate in such a subtle way.
Yes.
That as a man they make you feel inadequate, so that you have to constantly keep up, like measuring up to expectations. And because of that weakness, and a man, you don't have yourself as your mental point of origin, as Jacob has said, that need for validation, women really know how to feed on it. You know, they know how to manipulate men into doing that. And you see, sometimes men don't know how to say no to what the woman wants. And that inability to say no is what makes men to be abused terribly. And also a poor reading of the future. Because sometimes when as a man you have a very good job, you think that I'm going to have this job forever. So you end up making short-term, very poor financial decisions. And then you don't know, like 10 years from now, you'll not be in that position maybe to live that kind of lifestyle. And that's why there's so many men in Nairobi who are in their 40s or late 30s. Maybe this guy was living even in Kileleshwa, living a very good life, but now they've gone back to Umoja or Dono. You know, there's so many who have had to start over again because they couldn't keep up with that kind of lifestyle.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What are some of the financial abuses that are made against men? Still on you. I come to Jacob.
What are some?
What are some of the financial abuses that are meted on men?
Typically, you have to look
What
at
examples of abuse, for financial abuse?
Yeah.
I think Jacob has mentioned a couple of them, but I'm sure there are many.
Yeah, there are many, but the first one maybe is lifestyle. When you're living way above your means. There is a way that economists have told us, like, from your income, this portion should go into rent, this portion should go into all that.
Savings.
So if you are, for example, living on loans, and these loans, you're not like plugging this money into a business or something, just for lifestyle, you want to have that big TV, have a good car and all that, purely because that's what your wife wants. There's another thing when it's what you want as a man and you're just foolish, and it's one thing when you're being pushed to do things that the wife wants. So the number one is lifestyle. Number two is the kids, like the school fees that we pay for our kids. Most men are forced to take children to very expensive schools that they can hardly afford. Because the wife keeps on manipulating them. You have to give our kids the best and all that. And these men are completely defeated. Another one is that when a woman does not disclose how much she earns to you, like, it's really, as a man, you shouldn't really bother like how much she earns, but because you are a couple and you're making financial decisions together, there's a certain level of honesty and transparency that is needed in a relationship. So that lack of transparency with our finances is also a very horrible any form of financial abuse, because some of these women even do business on the side with their boyfriends.
Nauna
habari. Like, your wife can even buy some pieces of land. You will only know if she trips, like labda shamba ameenda kagongwa.
Anakuja kulia.
Anakuja kuambia by day hivi ndio kumeenda, And I know women who have taken loans for their other men out there, and they have been played badly. So upa kwa nyumba mazuri unavurugwa na bibi na ujini
ndio hasira ni gani?
Hasira ni huku nje, but sasa umeletwa kwa nyumba na uji. So lack of transparency.
Mama korogana na bibi yako, amekorogana na boyfriend yake.
Yeah. Okay. So there are so many. Yeah.
Right. Jacob.
There's another dimension I want to bring, which Silas has touched on. Guys need to appreciate how much the way this plays out in the economy. In the workplace, in responsible positions in the corporate, they normally reserve them for married men. A man who is not married is seen as not responsible and so on. And there's a reason for this. The sociological costs that men actually pay because of being what we call indentured servants to women. You know what normally happens? We normally say, like, when people are looking at the advantage of being married, they normally say that married men tend to earn more than unmarried men. But the reason for this is because of their wife's incessant demands. The wife puts you under so much pressure that you're going to work so hard so that you meet those demands. That's why married men actually end up earning more, because of that pressure. Now, nobody looks at the cost that the men pay in terms of their health, in terms of their mental health, in terms of their physical health. And you, of course, that's why you'll find several men, you go to any corporate engagement or event, the men have kitambis, they are out of shape and things like that. But you see, with these women, when they're loading you with all these crazy expectations, then they're busy going to the gym after work. Okay? It's because they don't have to carry that burden. So men need to remember that. As much as we say that, because I think there's some joke that is normally said that married men earn the most, but they are the least happy. Today, Dr. Dre, I don't know that you saw that interview of Dr. Dre today. Dr. Dre is, I think he's 56 or 57 now. Yeah, he's saying that this is the happiest he has ever been his entire life. Because, of course, he got divorced recently, but he was talking about now his kids are grown, they are gone, he doesn't need to worry about them. He doesn't need to worry about his wife. Nobody calls him, where are you, and so on and so forth. He's saying he's actually enjoying freedom for the first time. So this actually comes as a form of a yoke on the neck of married men. And I think the example Silas has given are very good, and they're happening within Nairobi to a lot of men. And the reason for us it is actually taking place, this discussion is happening now, is because so many men, particularly during the COVID period, they realize that as much as you give 100%, when things go south, when the shit hits the fan, you are left alone. So that's why now guys need to be educated about financial abuse. Because for us, we're normally raised, and this is a discussion we'll have now, we are raised to become a hero for your wife and children. You sacrifice everything for them. But nobody had ever thought about what happens when you have nothing. Yes.
And we think we've said oftenly here that if shit hits the fan, in an event that things go wrong, and as a man, you don't have any fallback plan, the highest likelihood is that mama is going to say, wewe, usijali, we can give you some space uende wasalaso, you try and figure things out, don't worry, sisi tutakuwa, we'll be around here when you're okay. We can always try and pick things from where we left it. So I think what is important is always to ensure that you are in a good space as a man financially. Like you have a good, this is me now speaking, like you have a good fallback plan. If things hit the fan, you can still maintain yourself for a short time as you move forward. Otherwise, I think what he said majorly is that men are burdens of beast of burdens. You know, beast of burdens. We are expected to work, you're expected to deliver, you're supposed to do this and that. And when you do that, you don't do that, you stop being the person that the other person knew before. So maybe even let's talk about financial abuse. One of it is situation, because women save. You save. They have their own spaces where they can always fall back to. Men, on the other hand, always imagine that the sources will always be there. We're always thinking tomorrow will be a better day.
You know why they save more than men?
Why?
Very simple. You know, men still carry that burden of provision. And as I said earlier, as a man, for example, if you earn 200,000 and your wife earns 100, you'll be doing virtually everything. She'll occasionally pop in with some flour and some shopping, even kidogo, but she'll still have more to save than what you have. And I know sometimes women can even tell you that they can save ni yenyu nyinyi wawili. And as a man, you might be tempted to believe that what she's saying is true. So in the earlier stages of marriage, men are burdened with that responsibility of provision, and especially the needs are very high school fees, rental and everything, before like you can build your own house. So by virtue that men are doing more provisionally in terms of provisioning, now women have that leg room now to save more. And you see women are not they're not generous with their cash, unless maybe some bad women manipulate. Women are kutoka kitambo, they naturally tend to be very conservative with their resources. Yeah. That's why they like spending other people's money. And sorry to say that this might sound like the wrong thing to say, but very few women feel sorry spending a man's money. But if it's some money in her heart, like she really feels bad, like she has to spend her money, you know. But if it's a man's money, she'll blow it up. Yeah.
Piga sherehe kabisa. Alright. Okay, let's look at the comments. John Gerald saying, Gerald Bitok, Mheshimiwa, I've gotten dumped several times until I realized making money on projects is the key remedy for heartbreak. I don't know, heartbreak mpaka unaona kumbe dawa ni pesa. Okay. Heartbreak, even the urge of sex in Ayana manner reduces unhealthy way I'm feeling. Streaming from Moma Bay. I love the show. Thank you so much all the guys from Moma Bay. Steven Dungu anaomba Moses Gitawa walete mwa Kenya. Hata mwa kisikuwa mthuru baada ya station kabisa. Kabon Sara, men only, Gerald, as women we will boycott your program. Hii mambo ya Calabar in South Africa wacha kabisa. Ati Calabar in South Africa. Mambo ya Calabar in South Africa. Please, tusaidie kidogo tuelewe.
Hebu rudia tena.
Amesema men only, Gerald, as women we will boycott your program. Hii mambo ya Calabar in South Africa wacha kabisa. Sijaelewa.
Calabar, whatever.
I only know about Calabar in terms of apartheid, like, you know, whites and blacks. Segregation.
Segregation.
I don't know what it is.
It's a woman who say that.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's the segregation, like a segregating women. That's what she's saying.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, but we've opened a phone. Tumesema kama if you are raising a man, if you are raising boys, you are welcome. Ama kama kuna ndugu yako unataka kumsa ama bwana. There are women who have men who need this.
Yeah, and then there was a woman I was chatting with this evening. You know, many women who purport, just like the deputy president's wife, many women who purport to be interested in championing the interests of the boy child, they think that men are like women. So you see, like her, for example, she probably feels that we need to handle the subject of financial abuse evenly. But we cannot. You see, I in the opening I said, even men financially abuse women.
Yes.
But they do it differently and they do it for different reasons. But we are looking at a situation where the man as the provider, someone who has been acculturated or conditioned to be a provider, is being abused. And for us, it's much more easy. Because one thing I'll tell you, the way men and women are raised is very different. And this is why we need to have these discussions. A man, when he's raised, even if you look at weddings, the girls are normally advised, make sure mempikia, maybe make sure you are available for him for sex and so on. When you're looking at it from a wedding setup, this is just common advice that is given to young brides who are getting into marriage. But in reality, those are the tools of power. Those are the tools, because normally there are 4 tools that women use to exert this financial abuse. There's what we call the power of the cradle. That means the children. Okay, if you look at many guys who have been separated or divorced, the woman denies you of the child. Access is denied. So then you have to meet her terms. Then there's also the power of the kitchen, whereby maybe if you are not providing money the way she wants, anakwambia hakuna chakula, okay? And you also know that you are also very conditioned that when you go home, you have to eat whatever has been cooked. Kama ukuli chakula, you're being questioned, ulikula wapi? Does it mean you are spending money outside there? Wana sisi tunakula mboga. Then there's also the power of the womb, okay? Which sometimes people think about it as sex. Many men are interested in having their children because a man's biological imperative is to spread his seeds and his bloodline. So the woman will control access to the womb until you are able to meet her financial demands, basically, at terms. And then also there is also what we call the power of the motherhood. The boys, the way men are raised, many boys, even if you ask them, and in the playground, if someone insults your mother, it is war. So a boy is raised elevating the woman from childhood. So by the time he's actually getting married or engaged, already has that mindset that the needs of the woman are actually more important than his own needs. And that is why we have to have these discussions. Because it happens in a very subtle manner. When the girl is being raised, the girl, for example, is being told the boys are dangerous and you should not allow them to have sex with her. So in a way, the girl is taught to love themselves. The boy, on the other hand, is being told to be a hero. How much he can give to the girl, how much he can save her, how much he can provide to her. And this is now what we need to discuss so that men can actually be able to guard against financial abuse.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Before you come back, Roslyn Mwenda tuned in. Asante Rosalind Mwenda tuned in. And then the teacher tuned in. Listened from you people. You are doing a great job. Thank you, Masigaki. Narcissism knows no gender. Patty White from Nakuru. Good to see you. Roslyn Mwenda. Rosalind Mwenda, men bankers of lower ranks are going through a lot. When I was a boss in the bank, I used to see these men suffer by taking loans that make their net salaries very little, mostly car loans. That's someone who was a boss in a bank. Mr. Yegon, hello guys, what happened to Sunday show? We got it back to the weekday because you're men, you said sometimes you want to watch football. Sijui ati show imecoincide na Man U, wamtake kukuja. So kasema jatulete ikuje weekday. Flobi, good to see you my sister. Sema hapo I'm not late, karibu sana. Butali will kwa hii karne ya 21 bado kuna mtu anaongea mambo ya ndoa. Marriage is a waste of time and resources. Why rear cow when you can buy milk? Why? Okay, haya. Mambo ndio hayo. Mimi nimesema. Eric Ongaro, wisdom tickling, well done, great people, could see you. Mr. Yegon, no, Gerald Asante. Adasabi, Gerald, you're doing a great job. I am learning from it, and these are issues it needs to be spoken in the society. Well done. What happened to the diaspora edition? Diaspora edition was there in the morning, this morning, East African time, of course, 7:30 a.m. Tulikuwa. Thomas Nyambaso, excellent. Right. Now, even before we move to talking about why men are abused financially. As a man, because, some abuse can look normal. When it's on, it's normal. As a man, this is what is expected. And also the toxicity that come with the demands on men. That, you're supposed to be this, you're supposed to be this, you're supposed to be this. So sometimes abuse passes. You don't get to see it. You don't know when you're being abused. So as a man, when do you know? At what point do you know that, Maze, I'm being financially abused? At what point do you know? Silas?
I think men need to be tuned on. What we normally talk here persistently, self-awareness. But we need to go back and understand how a man marries. Most of the men, they marry in strength.
Okay.
Because as a man, you have to be able to provide, you have to give this woman a house to live in, So at the beginning of marriage, the woman is probably younger than you. She doesn't have as many resources as you have. That's typically like the normal trend. So like if maybe you're 30, you have your job and she's like 25, you move in together and then you start a family. And you need to look at how the power dynamics shift in the course of a marriage. So maybe like the first like let's say 10 years, as a man you're providing because you're in a position to provide. But the young wife you married when she was 25, in the course of 10 years, she's likely also to grow in her job, get promotions, And if she works like in the NGO sector, the corporate world, nowadays the climbing happens very fast. So find like in the course of the marriage, financially down the line, you'll be at par, but the roles will not change. So you may have married her when she was earning 50,000, but by the time she starts to earn maybe like 150,000 and earning pretty much the same, the roles won't change. She'll still expect you to be doing the same thing. Now, here's where the problem comes in. Most men don't know how to hold their wives accountable, especially when it comes to resources. One, if you ask her, she can easily gaslight you like, mwanaume wewe ni mwanaume aina gani, unafuatilia pesa mwanamke. So they use that shaming tactic for you to pull back, And as a man, now you'll become a coward. And as long as you can provide, you'll be like, pesa yake ni yake.
Yes, tutake stress.
So that being shamed and going quiet so that you don't want to know what she's doing with her cash, nini. And see, femina so like mannerless. They can even, she can buy a new car, she can be buying some new phone. So you don't know, you can't even audit her lifestyle, So when you see such things begin to happen in the course of your marriage, like the lifestyle has changed, and you cannot ask her. You cannot ask her how she's spending her money without her gaslighting you. That's when you know now the financial abuse has started.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you know when you're being financially abused, Jacob?
You will know when
because these things that you're calling abuse sounds yes. normal to a lot of men.
Actually, it's abuse is a form of violence, and it's a very serious thing. So you will know this when you are always under financial strain. You are constantly under financial strain. That means it's a form of dysregulation or maladjustment when it comes to how your income and expenditure even out. So as a man, when you are under financial strain, under ordinary circumstances, most men are able to scale down. Maybe, and I think there was one guy who wrote a review of Unplugged where he talked about this. If you're living in a house of 28,000, go to a cheaper house, okay? If you're not able to do that because your wife is objecting, that is financial abuse, okay? If you find that you're struggling with so many loans that whose genesis or the initiation was not yourself, it was instigated by your wife, that is financial abuse. Because the most important thing is the return on investment. If you're finding that a lot of your spending is on vanity, I know of a friend whose wife was spending on these injections for making her skin light, and this guy had to fund them.
Mkorogo.
Yeah, mkorogo. So you see those vanity kind of expenditure in the States, and I think even with our local what do we call them, slay queens. They go for these butt implants, breast implants. Those are vanity surgeries. And then you're expected to fund it. That is financial abuse. So long as you find that the financial demands are at such a level that as a man, you're not able to save anything.
Actually, unnecessary demand.
Yeah, unnecessarily, particularly, then you're actually undergoing financial abuse, particularly when changing the course of these financial decisions is met with a threat either of being denied sex or of your marriage or relationship. You're being financially abused because, the power that women wield over men is the power of the box, the power of the children being held hostage, and many times even the power of the kitchen and the power of the womb. Okay? You'll be told now you cannot have more children. I think we had another celebrity recently being told that he needs to go for vasectomy. So those are how the men are forced into making financial decisions that actually put them under a lot of strain. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I don't know. Since we've given that, we've outlined that diagnosis. That's actually diagnostic. It's diagnostic. I don't know how many men that you're watching us tonight do you feel that you're being abused out of that outline of diagnostics. How sick are you feeling this evening? That's Aaron Kirui, Gerald Bitok watching from Nakuru, Edgerton, a nice show. Looking forward to be hosted in the show soon. Karibu. Didi Thomas, happy to see the trio back together on the show. Thank you. We're also happy to see this gentleman who had disappeared. We actually almost thought Silas has gotten married. When men get married, they get very weird. We were very worried.
He was getting financially abused.
The fallout, maybe you're being financially abused. Ulikuwa naambiwa unapelekana quiver kila siku until you lost direction. Unajua sasa ukitengela you cannot escape. Ukiruka moja ingine inakushika. Ukiruka quiver unaambiwa tuende Mnamanga. Unaambiwa unaambiwa siji muende wapi. Niona kuna ingine hapo kiwanja kubwa sana. So you never safe. Ukiruka moja ingine unakanyaga. Alright. Okay, Adasa, I think I've seen something.
Now kwa clubs pia financial abuse inaendelea. It happens a lot. A young guy, you take a chick out, you make the mistake of asking her to order for a drink. And most expensive.
You saw a post I made that the craziest thing about dating in Nairobi, you date a 20-year-old, she loves financial expectations. You date a 25-year-old, she loves financial expectations. You date a 30-year-old working class woman, she'll have financial expectations. Like, the older she is, the more expensive she is, for any man.
Yeah.
A woman can only pay the bills when she's buying the sex. Yeah, most of the women. And this one, statistically, it's very verifiable. Yeah, I'm not saying that women don't support men or they don't chip in. There are some good women who chip in proportionately, but most women still have that financial expectation on men. Yeah.
Okay.
It's called, they call it boyfriend energy. So you find that, I think we also were joking about this recently. When you find that a sugar mommy and a sugar daddy, the way it plays out. The sugar mommies, of course, they use the husband's money to keep the bentens, to entertain the bentens. The money they send them for Uber is normally the husband's money. Okay? But when a man is keeping a side chick, he uses his own money. And most men are very, very generous with these particular side chicks. But if you find these guys, the bentens who are kept by the cougars, they really have to work hard. They earn their money the very hardest way. So it's the same thing that actually spreads out now when you're dating an older woman. Most guys normally think that it's going to be cheaper because she has her own money, but it does not play out like that. Yeah.
Actually, what you said is very important because there's a lady friend in Nakuru, very knowledgeable and very intelligent girl, and she's telling me in Nakuru that is like the norm. These wives of the rich, like middle class, they're spending their husband's money on their bentens. Yeah.
So it's happening. There are high chances
a lot.
She told me that's like the norm.
It's the norm.
And another thing, like if you have like 10 sugar daddies dating young women, these young women can go very far. They can get jobs, they can be financed.
They can move up the ladder.
Patriarchy does the best in trying to distribute resources. But now if you have 10 sugar mummies, only about maybe 2 can build a man.
Actually, they are very insecure. They feel if you improve financially, you'll go for a younger woman. So they want to keep you where you are.
Yeah. And you see, there's that joke, Nani, the Daktari, this lady, she's called Orana Makove, posted. There's this guy, he said that he's, I don't know, 30, 35 years old or something. He's a doctor, he lives in Syokimau. So any woman who has money can go visit her. All the women under the comments were like, nitumie pesa yangu kwenda kutafuta mwanaume, you know. And you see that's like the mentality like women have, like they expect men to do most of the work, especially financially. Yeah. And actually, lastly, you mentioned about going out with women. Do you know that a woman can ask you out? She's like a rich woman with means. Asema mwende place, mkule, and she wants to pick your brain on something, but she still expects you to pay the bill.
Wewe ndio umeenda kumsaidia.
It happens a lot. And I want to mention something here right now. For the mothers who are watching this, I don't know the kind of upbringing that you have. I don't know that you guys have seen this. I've seen so many cases where a woman loads a man with a lot of expectations or demands. Na saa zingine, even if you hear the women talking amongst each other, ambiwa, haki nani, haki si una stress huo nani, si ataweza kweli. Unasikia nasema, si ni mwanaume. There's a way in which men are dehumanized. Like you think that because he's a man, he'll figure it out.
Being a human being.
And you see, and this is one of the reasons why men die early. They are loaded with all these things that give them so much pressure and stress, and they end up dying early. So women need to know, if you really love the man that you have or your husband, take care of him. If you're going to stress him, he's going to take it because he's been raised to become a hero and to take it up, to take up the burden of performance. But sometimes their back is breaking under that. If it's a man that you really value, don't do that. Don't abuse him. You're going to abuse him, he's going to take it, but he's going to die early and leave you there with the kids. So sometimes it is not worth it. Sometimes I see it as just lack of foresight. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Someone is asking here, Mr. Yagon is asking, does dating really matter in 2023? Unasikia kuna mungwana alikuwa amesema pia kwani bado mnaongelea marriage, bado ilikuanga. Is dating and marriage becoming it's going out of fashion? Silas, is it?
It's slowly going out of fashion because of one main reason. There's something called female solipsism, where women love themselves so much that they can't think about anyone else. Basically, what Jacob has talked about, lack of foresight. Okay. So men, we've reached a point where we're just tired of this. And the response that men have to this is just to disengage. Even so, most men, I even saw like in the Saturday Nation, the Saturday magazine, there was a story there why men now, they don't commit. You know, you just want to do the bare minimum because, you know, you can take in a woman, you want to play a hero for her, and she'll just take advantage of you. And then she'll disengage. And another thing that I should mention, propose that is that most women are very transactional when it comes to dating and marriage. Yeah? And the reason why some women don't even care about their husband's health, mental, whatever, just besides the solipsism, is that a good number of women marry for material benefit, what like we talked about, like economic refugees. So she's in that marriage for as long as she's extracting resources out of you. So that's why we find like most men, ikifika like maybe job yako imeisha or anything, the woman can just leave conveniently. She'll just start to remember, oh, you're abusive, you're manipulative, you know, all those things that they say about men. So that's why you see like most men are saying that is it really worth it, like ungangane, usaidie dem, nini. Because most of these men who do good stuff for women, like anamchukua shule nini, they do that for the good of the family. Like the man is not doing it for himself. The man knows that this is the mother of my kids, nini, and you want to build a family there. But that's not the thinking that most women have. Most women are like, kiki mtu kinanipenda, acha tu nikule tu pesa yake. No pesa ikiisha, she just moves on conveniently.
And just to add on that, you know, there is this meme that goes around of, you know, it's a photograph taken of a funeral setting, and there's someone who is hugging the widow very tightly, and people are normally joking that you know, this guy is already taking his best friend. Yeah. So the corollary to that joke, we normally say that she may not be cheating, but she knows who is next. So in many cases now where we have marriages that are transactional, these ladies normally position themselves and they position other men. The men basically are lining up. If this guy checks out, the next guy is already in line. And they have subtle ways of communicating these kinds of messages to the men so that the men are just lined up. So guys need to remember this. It's just similar to the situation with your employer, where when you're fired, you are replaced almost immediately. And that's why we tell guys, you need to fortify yourself so that you always have a safety net, you always have a plan B. Don't put all your eggs in one basket in the sense that you forget about tomorrow. Because if you find, again, a situation where you run into trouble and your wife is not able to extract these benefits from you, many modern women actually are able to move on and leave you there stranded. Yeah.
Not just move on very easily.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So why are men financially abused? Why us? Why are we financially abused? Why? Silas, why are we financially abused?
The main reason is that as men we want to play heroes, and we think that it's our traditional role to do that. Of course it is, to provide. But then we lack that self-awareness, know that the world has changed, and the material responsibilities of a marriage are too much for one spouse to bear. So unless you've really married like a woman who's not working class, like she's like, how they call them, a stay-at-home, whatever.
Your housewife.
Housewife, yeah? Unless she's like a housewife and you are the one who's providing 100%, if both of you are working, each one of you should contribute to the marriage proportionately to your income. And of course, the wife has to be given some bit of leg room. I'm not saying like it has to be equal, like 50-50. It just has to be a bit proportionate.
Yeah.
And also for the woman to have reasonable demands on the husbands. And financial abuse, is very common only in these big towns. In smaller towns, I think that thing of keeping up with the Joneses is not as common. Couples are really very moderate and very conservative the way they go about their lives. So if you go to this one like Richo, Kisii and all that, marriages tend to be a bit more stable. But in Nairobi, because of that rat race, is what forces women out to put that kind of pressure on men. But men need to have that kind of like, to be tuned on, to be self-aware, to know that they demand transparency and accountability from the wife, to ensure that they're not being manipulated and gaslighted when they're asking about some bit of transparency. And also for the man himself to be responsible about his resources, because most men are just careless. They only live for tomorrow. They don't think about the future. They don't think about the next generation, And we are the first now generation of African men who are in a position to create wealth that can traverse like 2, 3, 4 generations to come. So we have to also start thinking generationally.
Okay. Why? Amen. Abused.
Yeah, I think he's given one. Of course, that's a very important one, that men have been raised to think that they should be heroes and basically to take up the demands.
Superman,
Yes,
Spider-Man.
I have a friend who used to say that if your wife wants more, you should pray so that you can deliver more than she asks for. Something like that. So there's that. And then there's also...
Get closer to your mic.
Yes, there's also the challenge we have that most of us, we assume we are normal. We are not always normal. There are people who suffer from codependency. And the way codependency manifests itself is such that people are in a relationship, but one person feels that they cannot live without the other, or they are slavishly in need of the approval of the other. And that's why gaslighting works. Gaslighting works very well because of codependency, where someone, even these shaming tactics like the one Silas has mentioned, she's going to shame you and saying, only when wanaume aina gani unaangalia pesa ya mwanamke. You see, so she's moving you out of your center. You cannot reason rationally. So there's codependency that is there. And then there's a lady who mentioned that narcissism has got nothing to do with the gender.
Yes.
We must realize that, and I repeat this, as I mentioned in the beginning, men can also be narcissists. But the way we are raised, girls are raised actually to be narcissists. And this is why social media has made the relationships very difficult to sustain, because women are able to get the adoration that narcissists really feed on in a very easy and convenient way compared to the past. Because a girl is taught to love herself. Okay? Don't give this thing to the man. You know, things like chastity, for example, it's about self-preservation. It's not about giving. But men are taught to give. Okay? So that already sets us on an equal footing. The woman learns how to use, you see, the same psychology that is behind chastity and preserving yourself is the same thing that is going to come when you move from the womb to the kitchen. It is the same thing. So the same way, because they say that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Many men, very subliminally, are also controlled through the food that the wife is going to give to them. So all this psychological manipulation is also behind this. How we are raised up to think that a woman is the ultimate. Remember, I gave you the example of the way the boy, when he's growing up, if someone insults his mother, he's ready to die for that. Okay? But if someone insults his father, you find he's not really bothered. So this same psychology of pedestalizing women is also what makes us become very amenable to exploitation and financial abuse. If she tells you that I don't like going for holidays in Mombasa, we have to go to Dubai, this guy is going to do everything to take her to Dubai. Okay? He doesn't think of himself. All he thinks is how he can satisfy the female imperative. And that is why it is very important to have all these kinds of discussions, because men have never had a space where they can actually speak
about the whole issue,
or even reflect on what they are doing. They just do it reflexively. A guy will take a loan and you talk about happy wife, happy life. Happy wife, happy life is men now succumbing to the situation where you have to do everything that your wife demands for you to have a happy marriage. So these discussions we are having are going to help men to be able to liberate it from financial abuse.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Kuna mtu ameamua kuja na testimony hapa mapema. Juma Patrick Kurwa anasema, gentlemen, nilisimamishwa kazi for 3 months now. My girlfriend is footing all house bills and he has never shown me disrespect.
3 months. You see, yeah, he should be patient. Yeah, he's being hasty.
He should be patient.
Yeah, he needs to be very patient. And many women actually are able to support their men for a while. Okay. That one is normal. It happens. 3 months is a very short time. He needs just to be patient. But let him not relax. He needs to take up his burden of performance. Atafute kazi, let him become productive. Asifikirie status quo itakuwa hivyo throughout. And you know, I've also seen several cases where a man discovers down the stream that his wife is cheating and he confronts her. Afu anamuuliza, hii pesa yote umekuwa ukikula unafikiri inatoka wapi? You see, so don't be comfortable. In fact, there's a lady who was telling me that many women, if you see a woman who, for example, ukimkosea, maybe ulisema alikwambia uende ununue maziwa, unarudi kama umesahau, and she does not cause a big fuss out of it, or she finds a stray messages on your phone,
she's not bothered.
Hapo ujue unachezwa vibaya sana. Yeah, so even sometimes when she takes up the burden of performance,
you need to be worried.
Yeah, without complaining. Maybe kuna mtu anamcomfort, anamwambia bwana wako hajapata kazi. Usijali.
Don't worry.
Usijali, this is what we are going to do.
Alafu itafika mara mzee, no, mtu wako unafanya nini naye? Jamaa wako unafanya nini na huyu jamaa? Bado ana kazi na hajatoka kwa.
But even so we have to give credit to the few good women who still
I think they are good women actually.
Yeah, still hold down for, because I know there are men who have been like, I know of course they are old, and that is another dynamic. In the past, women could hold down for their men, but I know women who have stayed with jobless men for more than 5 years, 10 years, and all that. And we need to be, I don't know whether to say grateful, but we need to acknowledge that.
We need to appreciate and acknowledge them, yes.
But they are a minority. They are not a majority. Just as a man, just know if you are, the burden of performance is on the wife, you are living on borrowed time. On borrowed time, yeah.
Okay. But the good women actually at artists, they are actually good women who can stand up by you and prop you up, you know, and try to give you a space to be a better person. There are those women.
Yeah.
Like you said, yes, they're in a minority. And they're very, very small minority. So if you're lucky, you found that woman, a good brother, yes, you need to thank God for that woman, but also that does not mean that you drop your balls.
Yeah.
You drop your
And
balls.
you chill and you're like, there's no pressure. After all, you're late in the evening, your bills will be paid. It will get to a point where it will also get into her.
Yes,
So
and-
at least as a man, you have to try and keep going. And this is what I tell men a lot of times. Like all of us men have gone through a struggle. There is a point in life, there are phases in life where we really struggled. We've been in a position where we cannot stand up and take up the burden of performance. But there are men who just have never taken up that burden of performance, and they're okay with it. I mean, they want the easy way out of life. The same way there are women who want an easy way out of life, who want someone to pay their rent, live in uptown and live this and drink on men, eat on men as well. There are women who live like that. And then there are also men who live like women, like that. Like they are not bothered. It's fine for a man to be down. It's fine to to struggle. Sometimes it's fine not to have a job. It's okay not to have money. But it's not okay to just sit and suck up to that.
Now, that sitting and sucking up is quite very common here in Nairobi. Partly because the economy is doing very badly, but also because some women are just okay with their husband sitting around in the house and doing nothing, which should not be the case. Because for a man, the moment una select KVSG, 1 month has gone, 2 months have gone, and you've not picked up something, you're the one who mentioned in one of my posts recently, as a man, if you're a graduate, for example, you can still go back once kuuza miwa na wheelbarrow, but if you're good in what you do, within a few months you'll still be back doing a good job.
Back on the drill.
Yeah.
It's very true. And also, I think also sometimes guys don't give themselves enough credit. I mentioned last week that women are very practical. You can also find that when a woman invests in you, there's something in you that she has seen. So maybe wewe unajiona vile huko job, lakini kuna kitu ameona. Maybe you have some certain skills, you're well spoken, ama ile area umesoma ni mzuri, ama there are a lot of prospects in that particular area, or you're from a very good family background that she knows that can give you a very good backing. So people need to remember that. And also the way women handle things depends on their age. For example, a very young woman can be very naive in terms of how she thinks life will play out. Women who are very dangerous are particularly post-war women in their early 30s. That's a very tricky place. If you drop the ball at that point, and she's also feeling that her sexual agency is running out, if she feels that she's not with a viable man, she's going to make a decision. And also women who are, again, later in their 40s and so on, their sexual agency has decayed. Most of them also tend to settle. So a lot of this, as much as we also say that modern women, we also blaming them, but we also realize then that song of Stella was sung what in the 60s or 70s?
1992.
Oh, it was 92.
Amerudisha mkono, amesema mlimuonea.
Yes, so so the female nature has always been there. If there's an opportunity, a woman sees an opportunity, she'll always go for it.
Yeah. And he'll never actually think about what she's living behind. Right, J Events TV nimefika though late, karibu sana. Now, why do men allow? Why do we men allow to be financially abused? Why do men allow it? Why, Jacob?
Yeah, the reason men allow it is because men really value their marriage.
Okay.
Most men they prioritize their marriage a lot because they see it as a reflection of themselves.
Yes.
They look at it as some sort of legacy that they want to set up and leave behind.
As an endorsement of their man.
Yes, so many men, because of that, they can do anything to make sure that their marriage or their family, as we call it, does not break apart. So it's just in a bid to keep the family together that men allow or put up with this financial abuse. Another reason why it also happens to men is because men are very trusting of women. Because of being raised by a mother, many men grow up thinking that their wife is like their mother. So that even when they're being financially abused, it never crosses their mind that, hey, by the way, this is excessive. I need to put a stop to this. They play along with it thinking that the woman always has his best interest at heart. But in many cases, actually, the woman is just trying to fit in. Maybe there's an Instagram post that a friend posted. They had a Mercedes, they bought a Mercedes with their husband, and anasema we pia, hii premium tumeka nayo sana, we need to upgrade. You see? So maybe she's just doing it for vanity. But you're thinking that because she's a woman, and remember all these messages we've been getting from church, from the society, whoever gets a wife gets a good thing, educate a woman, educate a society. There are many men who surrender their decision making to their wives. So you don't even think that, okay, she could be wrong, maybe I need to say no. So that sometimes men just follow. Unaambiwa by the way, hii umoja unajua is very unsafe. Juzi mtu alipigwa ngeta hapa nje. We need to get out of here. Tuende kilelesho is much safer. Jamani ngangana anaenda.
Anaanza kufuliza leo.
So he abandons. It's no longer his mental point of origin. Anaambiwa tu vitu na anafanya. Yeah.
All right. Why do men allow financial abuse?
I think we should say that this is a fairly new problem that men, especially my generation, our generation, are dealing with. Because this is the first time women are earning like money like properly, you know. And then started fairly recently, like 2005 is when now women in Kenya started earning like they had degrees, like they had been properly empowered. So it's a fairly new problem as men don't know how to deal with it, because if you look back at our mothers did abuse our fathers financially, but the only difference was, as a man, you knew this is my wife. Hata kama pesa na ficha hapa ni ya familia. She's not going to use this money to undermine me, undercut me, and all that. Because the divorce rates were very low, and the woman was obliged to stay with her husband until death. He separates them, you know. So first of all, it's a fairly new problem. So even as men, we don't have that manual of dealing with it. Because you can be a man, you have your frame and everything, but what if you married a woman who's competitive? Because that's another form of abuse in marriage, where your wife is very competitive. Kama leo umenunua Samsung, naye kesho atakuja na Samsung. If you bought a German machine, kesho naye anakuja na German machine yake, you know. And they normally create this environment where you can't do these things together. So it's basically like another man in the house. Especially these modern women. So it becomes a competition where, as a man, what you need is cooperation. So we don't have the manual of how to deal with it, because you can't say like you can sit down and talk with women about finances. Finances are, I think, probably the leading causes of divorces. And part of the reason is being that when it comes to our money, it becomes a bit of a thorny issue. But when it comes to your money, it's still a thorny issue in marriage, because hata kama ni pesa yako unatumia vibaya in marriage, wife anaweza kupiga msako sana. Of course, it's justified because she's trying to protect herself and the children and all that. But the bone of contention in most marriages, it's the woman's money. It's rarely the man's money. Most of the time when the couples are having problems, it's the woman and how she wants to use her money. Because most men, when they get this money, they want to pull away, and not many men have that courage or the balls to face up the wife and mwambie by these are the rules. Because also women now can make their own rules. So in a way that we are a bit powerless in most of the time, especially if you married wrong or you picked a wrong partner, you know. So in that case, now as a man, you have to make a choice. You live with it, and you kick out and get a woman who's more cooperative, because marriage is an economic decision. Like, it's an economic arrangement. And you are making every decision for the benefit of the children. That's even these rich people. They don't have like the best marriages, but they know as long as they are stuck together, man and wife, they are providing the best security for the children. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's something is mentioned, which I've seen among couples who are very competitive. You find a couple that are earning very nice money, corporate jobs. Okay? This guy, he buys, let's say, an X6. The wife also buys an X6. So you find that money that they could have channeled maybe towards a mortgage, or if they could actually have
a meaningful venture.
Yeah, something meaningful. There is this ego war or ego fight going on. And that can really end up squandering the resources of the family. And that is, of course, also one way that Silas has mentioned, it takes a form of financial abuse, because instead of helping you to raise the family, she's competing with you now in terms of the kind of material assets or acquisitions that you're getting. So, and I hope also the ladies who are listening to this can help as much as possible. When we normally say that men are leaders within the family, many men go very, very far when women support them, because women actually have this very mystical power to make a man to bring out the superpowers of a man. When a woman is supporting you and encouraging you, as a man, you become very indefatigable. You're able to work almost tirelessly and so on. As opposed to a situation where your wife is competing with you. You do this, she does this. You do this, she does this. Then it doesn't make sense. The union,
or she's withdrawn.
Yeah, or she withdraws. Yeah, or she guilt trips you, like you buy a car, umenunua Mercedes, useme now this is what we'll use. You're saying, why do you have to share a car? Kama umenunua Mercedes, ukisema fine, then I'll get you a premium. He says, no, kama umenunua premium hata mimi, Mercedes hata mimi, Mercedes. Now you have two vehicles, things that don't make financial sense. So it's important for ladies also to encourage their daughters, learn to think about the family as a unit. You as part of the family, not him as a man and you as the woman. They need to have that unified vision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And they usually say that the biggest flex for a man is the kind of woman that you choose for a wife. It can either make you or destroy you. And I think there's, like you were saying, there are places, there are things that open up. There are doors that you open as a man when you have a woman backing you. But when you also have a woman destroying you, there are a lot of doors that you close. There's a lot of backtrack that you do in your life. Many a times, often at times, it happens a lot. You've seen men who get married and they become so miserable. Their jobs, their business collapse. There are a lot of bad decisions that they make, and they succumb to a lot of crazy things. And that's what men that you see when they get men, their lives change. They start doing their life things differently. They open up to many opportunities and all that. So maybe we need to start a vetting manual for men who are trying to get women.
There is actually. There is in the memo in Unplugged.
We've talked about it.
We've talked about
the way women can become dream killers. The way it happens is in a very subtle manner, because the qualities that make a man very attractive to marry are the same qualities that will make a woman diminish or vanish for her to feel secure in the marriage. You see, if a man is very outspoken, the man is very ambitious, the man is very hardworking, the man is physically fit, all these qualities are what will make a man attractive to a woman. But when you're in the marriage, a continuation of these qualities will make other women become attracted to the man. So the woman wants to diminish all these qualities. Okay? We've had cases where the man once gets married, anapewa portions za chakula nyingi, unaongezwa, so that you can become fat. The woman wants you to become fat, they watch a competition. You see? When a man is very ambitious, okay, maybe he's realized that there's a certain job, ameitwa UN New York, aende afanye kazi huko, that will quadruple the salary that he wants. The woman says, no, you can't go now, you have a young family and so on, ataki kwenda nje and so on. So these same qualities that makes a man very attractive, you find now the woman now fights to kill all these qualities so that you can become betterized and become a docile man that can give her the comfort and security which she now values. Because the comfort and security that are now arousing initially in the marriage, now they become things that now she has to turn out these qualities for you to become now attractive to her.
All right. Yeah. I think we do the last point on this, then we will finish up with the questions that are coming up. Now, we've come all through, looked at what forms of financial abuse, why do men allow it, why are men abused, and how do you know when you're being abused? Now, what can men do about it? What can men do about financial abuse?
There's so much that men can do about financial abuse. And just a minute, I
can open up as you're starting.
Yeah, sure.
We've always said that men need to make themselves their mental point of origin. Before you make a financial decision, ask yourself, why am I making this decision? If it's a loan you're taking, ask yourself, why are you taking that loan? Whose benefit are you trying to serve? Is it your benefit? Is it somebody else's benefit?
So it takes us back to the mental
point of origin. Very, very important. And remember what we said when you're talking about, we use a flight analogy. You're told first to, if the oxygen mask is dropping, put yours on before you put on that of another. Because a number of these financial abuses is a situation where this guy is trying to meet the demands of his partner and forgetting his own. You need to secure yourself first. So that is one thing that you have to do. And also remember, you need to understand female nature. Women pay so much attention to what we call social proof. Okay, they are into outward expression of opulence and of wealth. Okay, at the expense of the real expression of wealth. So don't spend so much so that you can look good, because women prioritize that. As a man, you need to be very solid. You need to steer yourself to solid ground. Don't spend money to look good, and while in reality you're actually crashing yourself financially.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So I had a couple of points here. And number one is that she should never trick you to ignore income. At the very least, you should know what her income streams are. How she decides to use it, that's another thing. But don't live in the ignorantly, assuming that like you don't care, like it's her money. Unless you're so rich and you're a billionaire, and maybe she has a few pennies.
That's the only way you should not.
That's when maybe you can ignore.
Then even those billions of years can be abused.
Yeah.
No, you know, for those men who are so rich, like when she abused it, like
Yeah. That's it.
So unless you're playing at that league, but as long as you're earning at par, and you have a risk of maybe going broke or poor in the course of your lifetime, then you must know what income is. Number two, your wife must never keep secret assets. Like you are not, you don't know what kind of land or property. Jacob was talking about those women who build flats. Na hata ujui. If your wife is very secretive, it shows like there's something she's hiding. Maybe there's a safe in the house. Kuna vitu zimefungiwa hapo utaipata. You know, like as a man, just try and be aware and try to get to know what she's up to. Maybe we didn't cover about financial abuse, maybe from family also. Maybe that's another thing. Maybe we can talk about black tax.
I think, by the way, we need to get a session for black tax.
Yeah. Another point is that we should pick a lifestyle that you can afford as a man. Don't be stressed and start taking up loans, especially to finance a lifestyle. If you do that, just know, and maybe you are in your late 20s, early 30s, just know in your 40s, you'll suffer terribly. Because if you're working, nowadays, there's no job that is guaranteed unless you're working for the government and it's permanent and pensionable. Again, even that job you can lose. Something can go wrong at work. So don't live on a lifestyle that you cannot afford. Another thing is that as a man, you must have savings. Like as a man, you must save something for the rainy day. As we say in the memos, is whatever much you're spending on your family, either spend as much or a good proportion of it on yourself. Another thing is that as men, you should also learn a few things like domestic skills. Because women normally take that advantage that they are wanachunga nyumba. So they take that.
If your man at least has a picker,
yeah, so
for a few days.
Like what women normally do is that because she's the cook, she's the homemaker, they use that ruse to cover up their finances. You know, they normally call it like unpaid labor. You know, so as a man also, you might want also to shape up so that she can't use that as an excuse to hide her finances.
Can be self-sufficient.
Yeah. Another thing is that to have a joint account for the domestic bills. You know, she can have her own account for money. You can have your own account, but also it pays to have like a joint account for, for the shoppings and all that, so that now you're not overburdened. At least you can know, like in a monthly cycle, maybe your budget is like 50,000. So you know maybe you're supposed to put like 30,000, utaweka yako na yake 20,000. Because also not having like a shared account, you'll never know how much you're spending on income. And lastly, I think budgeting, of course, helps. Because part of the reason people get abused that they don't have a budget. The people just know like, to get supermarket, you just buy anything, And especially around the times you're living in, as a family, you must have like a budget. And I think one last thing is what you spend on a woman, like taking her to school, all those favors you're extending to her. As you always say, do it as a philanthropist. Don't do that expecting that you're trading favors. It never works that way.
And don't raise above yourself. I think we spoke about that last week. When you elevate a woman, Many men think that she'll also elevate you. What she does is she elevates her expectations of you. But there's something he has mentioned that I'd like to just add on. Many men, especially young men, young parents, we spend so much money taking these kids to expensive schools, and I think that's what DNA was talking about. It doesn't mean if you take them to expensive schools, they're going to be successful academically right away. And today I was in a parent-teachers meeting where the head teacher was telling us that if it's a child who is going to pass, he's just going to pass. All you need to do is to provide a good enabling environment and they'll be fine. What I've seen is many guys really struggle to take their kids to these groups of schools and so on, because in their mind they believe that is where the kid will do well academically. We were having a session in the men's Indaba with a lawyer recently, and this lawyer was telling us the kind of experiences many men go through when they retire. You find a man has spent his entire life savings or life income raising these kids. But these kids, when they grow up, you find they're educated, maybe they have their own jobs, but you still find that they want this money that this guy has for his pension. They still want part of it. So guys need to remember, Silas has mentioned it, very important. You must be able to save some money. Don't spend all your money. You need to have some income set aside for rainy days. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Jay Evans, you get she's employed, akona salary, but she's always broke. Na ndio nimeanza kudate for marriage. She is a mom of one, anakaa mpole na understanding though. Will this go far? She's on her late 20s. Can I repeat again?
She works.
Nianza tena. You get she's employed, akona salary, but she is always broke. Na ndio nimeanza kudate for marriage. She is a mom of one. Anakaa mtoto kwanza tuanza mtoto ni wako ama she is a mom unaona ndio you are the boyfriend. Okay. Anakaa mpole na understanding though. Will this go far? She's on her late 20s.
Her being mpole and understanding.
Jacob looks very amused.
And her being broke, those are not related, you know, because women are very conniving and they can use their politeness, you know, like akunanga character development ba kama character development ya kienyeji. She can hide.
You never saw it coming.
Yeah, you never saw it coming. So the point is you need to establish why is she broke, because even women still they have a problem. Black tax. I met a young waitress in Kitengela and we just got talking and I was so shocked that yeye ndio analisha familia au Busia, like a brother, a mother, a father, everyone is depending on her. And she's earning maybe like 30,000. So you need to understand, is she broke because of the black tax in her family? Or is she broke because of the lifestyle she's living? You know, women can be earning like 30,000, but lazima insist survive with 15,000, you know. And so she could be broke because of poor financial decisions. Or it could be just the money she's earning cannot keep up with the inflation. So as a man, you have to establish why is she broke. Yeah, because it's not like there's a one shoe fits all, like, you know, that kind of thing.
Okay. Hey, Jacob.
Yeah, that guy, I think he's in a lot of trouble. But
closer to your mic, please.
What I will say, he needs to first establish. I think from what he said, that is a single mother. He needs to find out where is the baby daddy of this particular child. Yeah, he needs to understand her background, what happened to the baby daddy, what was the cause of their disagreement, and then he can then determine whether he wants to be part of that. Because in many cases, a number of these ladies, they have a short disagreement with the baby daddy, and you invest so much in her, then the baby daddy comes back, and you'll have lost a number of your productive years trying to support another man's child. So he really needs to reflect before he gets into that kind of arrangement. And then I think what Silas has said covers it pretty well. Find out why she's always broke. Is she really broke? Or is she setting
broke to you?
Maybe anaeka pesa yake because anaona wewe ndio pesa yako inafaa kufanya. Many ladies feel very entitled because they're giving you sex. They feel that the compensation that they should get from that relationship is you taking up the financial burden. And they can weigh you with the financial burden in a very unreasonable and ruthless manner that you will never recover the rest of your life. So he needs to understand further. And I wish you also gave more information about him. Is he younger? Is he older than her? Are they earning the same money? Or is he earning more and things like that. But another thing Silas mentioned, which I think I need to emphasize on, it's very important because I've met many men who are normally advise pesa ya mwanamke usiangalie. You need to give her some responsibility in that particular union. Times have changed. Women now have their own money, and that money they have is not just for frivolous expenditure. Let her also take at least a portion of the household bills or expenditure, so that you can actually work together as a family.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Yagon, do you guys think traditional marriage kind of protects the man in the event the wife misbehaves?
Traditional marriage protects. What's a
Do
traditional
you guys
marriage?
think traditional
In this
marriage
case?
kind of protect the man in the event the wife misbehaves? I don't know what that is, but then maybe we can give us more information, Mr. Yagon.
Yeah,
on
what
that.
he means
You can expand it.
by misbehaves. But I think the only thing is, I wouldn't call it traditional marriage, but I would call it traditional society. The traditional society
Setup of marriage.
Yes, setup. It protected the man in the sense that women were able to be shamed when they misbehaved. Nowadays, women they misbehave, nobody cares. We had the wife of a musician recently telling us how she used to keep a rotation of men, sleeping with so many men.
For different things.
Yes, for different things. One is paying rent, one is fueling the car, one is servicing the car, one is for electricity, one is for shopping. And this is a married woman telling us openly how she was...
The guy is chilling somewhere waiting for rent.
prostituting herself, and the husband is listening to this, and this is nobody asked about this. So the traditional marriage, and this is why also we have so many women getting pregnant out of wedlock and still expecting to marry men who are not attached to any child or any other woman. In the past, women used to be shamed for having children out of wedlock. Nowadays, it is not happening anymore. So in that sense, I would say the traditional society protected men, because women were able to be shamed into good behavior. Nowadays, there's no shame. So they misbehave and nobody cares. In fact, if you look at the situation, and this is what we've discussed before, the church is normally the first one to absolve them of their bad behavior. The church is going to tell these women that, your sins have been washed away, you are as pure.
You're a new human now.
You're a new human, you are as white as snow. And then the men will find them in church, and when you get married is when now the real character comes out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Someone here. Kevin Anyim, women and children tend to abandon men in retirement. Why? I think we had somehow spoken to this, but I think we can tie up this with the issue of black tax. We need to look at that, because also men struggle with black tax. They end up broke, retiring broke. So maybe we can tie that with black tax for next week. Mickey Linus, I'm still yearning to read Unplugged. I will soon. The Unplugged regalia looks great. Are you selling the same merchandise? Maybe. Is it wise to let them know about how much I earn? Is it wise to let them know how much I earn or what investment I make? Like to tell your woman. But also talking about books, please, you can get your books from either Jacob or Late. You can get Unplugged. You can get the memos and Man About Town, exercises from Silas. Please, you can contact them directly so that you can ensure that you can get a purchase, or you can inbox us. Then we can link you up with them and ensure that you get what you're getting. Now, is it wise to tell your woman how much money you're making, investments you're doing?
No, it's very unwise. Normally, what my father told me is very simple. As a man, your trousers for pockets, and it's okay for a woman to know what one pocket has or two pockets. Okay. But at least the other two, keep them for themselves. But when you tell men we're not telling men to keep secrets. We are telling them to be discreet, because sometimes when, for example, you earn money from a deal kukando, and you come and unaambia wife, by the way, kuna ka 4 million nilipata, kuna deal nilichapa last time. When a woman hears that, some women, not all of them, she wants to ensure that all of that money is spent. Ataanza kuambia like kile fridge.
Akisema pesa nakwambia si ile pesa ulisema iko.
Yeah, and also most women, a good number of women, they really don't want their man to have any cash on them. I don't know why. So that's why as a man you need to be a bit discreet. Okay. But don't be too discreet to a point where, like, if you die, God forbid, your wealth itapotelewa huko nje. Ensure that your discretion, like at least there are 1 or 2 people who know some of the things that maybe umeweka hapo kando. for a rain day. So be transparent as in a very responsible way, but also be discreet. Keep at least 1 or 2 pockets for yourself.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I think he has answered it well. Yes, the gear that I'm selling for Unplugged, they're available for sale. So if you want, we have different colors, red, black,
Actually, there's someone who said, Kevin Anyima said you deliver. Send Unplugged regalia to my office tomorrow. 1 Africa Place, 2nd floor. I will pay for the items and the courier services. That's Kevin Anyim.
Yes.
Kevin Anyim, please, can I your number, please? Jacob Elliott.
Actually, here's my number, 0716 701
0716
Yes, 701
901
159.
159.
Yeah.
Silas,
0746
0746
222
222
484.
484. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can talk to them directly so you can get a box, okay?
Yeah, there's a question Anyima has asked, and it's a good question. Why men are abandoned by their wives when they retire. So, and this is very important. It talks about the foundations of marriage.
I think we tied that for next week.
Oh, we tied for next
with
week.
black
Okay.
tax.
Okay.
Because I think it has a very serious correlation.
Yes,
You
yes.
can talk about financial abuse in the larger context now,
Yes, in the
beyond
larger
marriage.
Yes.
Other ways that even our friends
And also
abuse
how,
us financially.
and also how it affects how you end up,
Yeah.
you wind up as a man. And on Unplugged, of course, I've given up them the number. J Events TV, amazing guys, learning siku njema. Asante. Let me just run through. I'm seeing it's already 4 minutes past 9 p.m. Let me run through the comments on Facebook and see what we can pick from there. Let me see. It's a lot here. Let me see where I can pick from. Fiona's comment says men fear going home earlier because of many financial nagging, like missed target and met expectations. Future targets with the neighbor has already achieved. Wow, okay, pressure. Sana wako watching live from Mathare North. Salimia Silas sana na Aki aoe atuita harusi. Alikuwa amepotea sana. Anataka kula pilau. Like that's cheza kama wewe. Teresa Sifunga, financial abusers use a variety of financial abuse tactics such as gaslighting, manipulation, and secrecy. These are all means to leverage power and control and influence the other person in the relationship. These tactics are used to trigger emotions such as shame, guilt, fear, or anxiety to coerce you to make the desired financial decision, which might be dropping out of school or quitting your job. Each of these tactics keeps the power in the hands of the financial abuser. From Congo, Lubumbashi. Wow. Good to see you guys from Congo. God bless you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. DT Thomas, most salaried men have big appetite in spending, forgetting they have one source of income. Men should not fear to say they are working under budget. They are working under budget. Any savings can save a man's tough times. True, DT Thomas. Roy will be. Good to see you, my brother. Gerald Bitok, where is the taco located in town? Juu kesho nakuja kuandamana. I'm bringing my written detailed counter letter. Don't hide. All right, please send me a WhatsApp message. I'll give you directions. Kiba always says weak men's are lambistic. You should host the folk ama anaweza choma. Tutamzungumzia. We reached out, so let's wait for his feedback. Sena wako some sober conversation there. Thank you, Bitok, and our able panelists. Thank you. Waume Masharia. These are conversation men need to have before they get into unions like marriage. Correct. John Jera, Mheshimiwa, sometimes I feel dating sugar mommy, but pressure from society with reputation. What should I do to quench it? Well, I think first of all you need to give us 10 reasons why you want to do that. From when you get the reasons, we can now know we can see if it's a wise thing to do. And why should you say sugar mommy? Is a woman who is older than you necessarily a sugar mommy? No. Maybe you are now talking about the sugar in the mommy. So that way now you'll have moved the burden of performance. You'll have moved also your character of the origin, mental point of origin. Those are things that you've handed over now to someone else. Jeffrey Akungu, the tragedy of our modern times is the fact that women have changed and men haven't. Women generally have been conditioned to be independent of men. As far as finances are concerned, women in the traditional sense that they are have never been raised to bear the burden of performance, will never in the empowered statuses accept a man who is incapable of bearing the burden of performance. Ironically, as women continue on the empowerment trajectory, men are generally left to their own devices. Most men therefore persist in the old order beliefs, but absent the capacity to activate it in its entirety. Suffice it to say that the modern man is extremely ignorant of women's nature as well as the modern realities which circumscribe their new realities in the modern times. It therefore behoves all enlightened men to wake up fellow men and to empower them into avoiding the pitfalls of the empowered modern woman. This acknowledge is the only way men are going to emerge safely from this menace of being women's plow horses without commensurate returns on their selfless investments in women. Wow. Okay. I think this is one of the men that we need to have on our live session. The live session will be doing this out of some of the men that we need to have there to ensure they can reach a conversation. Judith Chepkemai, how do we wipe men who abuse women financially? The man who intentionally commits your man and leave you with all the responsibility, commits your money, I think, and very abusive in the extent of calling you. I don't know. How do you untangle from man overbearing you financially? Silas, we also wear trousers nowadays. Thanks for the advice. We'll implement appropriately. Now, maybe you can help us just help this lady, because I think she's also dealing with a man who... Judith, starting, how do we... men who abuse women financially, they live with a big burden financially and they disappear.
Yeah, it happens, and Jacob talked about that earlier on. And I think every adult, when you enter into a relationship, you sort of like must know the kind of expectation that you have and the threshold that you can deal with. It's good to help someone, but you must know how far you can go with the kind of help that you want to give this person. For example, kuchukulia mtu loan leo na itumie vibaya, it means that the second one pia itumie vibaya. Because the abuse, it becomes abuse when there's now a consistent pattern. And you have to break that pattern at the earliest opportunity possible. But you see, what makes it very difficult for women sometimes when they're emotionally attached to a man, and usually for very wrong reasons, it becomes very difficult for them to untangle themselves from such a situation. Because it's not just another man who can take advantage of a woman. Men who take advantage of women, they have certain traits that maybe we can talk about in another forum. But I know the women who try to help men and they're coming from a very good place. What I normally tell them that they should up their self-esteem, really work on it. Because sometimes most of these women, their self-esteem is a bit low. And these men, maybe they try to validate them. They try to, kuwasai kidogo, manipulating them to kidogo. Because financial abuse thrives in codependency, what Jacob talked about, and manipulation and gaslighting on either agenda. Whoever's trying to take advantage of the other has to use those tactics. You want to manipulate them, you want to gaslight them. So you just need to be self-aware. And once you start seeing that there's a certain pattern here that nimesaidia mtu mara moja, no change, mara mbili, no change, mara tatu, then you're not a savior.
Sorry, okay.
You have to break off at the earliest opportunity possible.
All right, keep quiet, Fred. There's a fallacy that being labeled stingy as a man is a bad thing. Actually, it shows you are self-aware as a man and you are able to spend your money prudently. Spend what you can. Now, Jacob, give us a last round.
Yeah, so, of course, there are also stingy men. I think Silas one day will talk about it. But a man should not be afraid to be labeled stingy. If you know what you're doing, and you've made yourself your financial, your mental point of origin, you need to stick to your guns. It's very important as men to spend on a budget. Don't just spend hohehahe, as Swahilis will put it. You need to have a budget. Na kama if someone wants to spend outside your budget, unamwambia tu hii si mbaya, lakini we don't have the budget for this. So many men, because of their pride, they are not able to say that. There's a time I met one of my friend in the supermarket. I was actually shopping with my wife, and ananiambia, patia wife credit card. You don't have to be, moving around like this. Patia credit card, and you let her spend the way she wants. There are men who do that, and many times it's to their own detriment. You can find that you are buying things that you don't need. That's why so many people have a lot of stuff even in their houses, things that they actually don't need, because many women spend money to suit themselves. That's why we say that women shop, but men buy, because spending money many times gives women a dopamine rush and they feel very good about themselves. So many ladies also, if you give them that opportunity to just chop my money, as Nigerians sing it, it may actually be to your own detriment. So as a man, it's your responsibility to secure your financial position and to secure your financial future. Do not leave it to your wife or to somebody else.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure having you. Atticus now, all the way from United Kingdom. Good evening, Gerald, and a good evening to the guests, Silas and Jacob. Thank you so much, Atticus, and good to see you. It's been a while. Sijakuwa na habari ya United Kingdom, salimiana pale, asante. Hasa kama kawaida, ukale kidogo imenianza. Kama kawaida, Moses Getao ametupea summary ya leo. Financial abuse in marriages 23rd of March 2023. Financial abuse is a situation where one partner takes advantage of another to exploit them financially. In this case, we explore how men as the providers are exploited and abused in marriage financially. Majority of men stay in this relationship where they are abused for several reasons. One is because they want to be seen as heroes and also because of traditional expectations of a man. Men have this savior mentality hardwired in them, and sometimes it works against them. Men also don't want to be seen as failures. Some stay because of this fear of what people will say or think if they say they are struggling. This sometimes leads them to take up more debts as they try to keep up with the high standard of living they are being subjected to. To add to this, we have a few safe spaces where men can have candid conversations about their experiences, especially in marriages. So this sometimes drowns men who are weak, who lack support. Also, men stay in the relationships because they are looking for acceptance from their wives' codependency. The need for validation makes men to be abused terribly. Also, men are abused for lack of information on what is financial abuse and how it manifests itself in relationships. You as a man need situational awareness. Keep learning so that you are well versed on this concept of abuse. Also, some women are narcissists or suffer from borderline personality disorder. And if you don't discover these disorders, you will be taken through hell in your marriage. Learn about behavioral disorders so you can spot them very easily. Failure to hold your woman accountable is another reason why you will be abused. You know you are being abused when you are constantly straining financially under ordinary circumstances. For example, or some of this financial abuse. One, being pushed to a higher lifestyle that you can't afford. For example, living in areas where rent is very high, shopping is high and in high-end areas, among others. Secondly, when the woman is competing with you in the marriage, as a couple, you are supposed to pool your resources to get maximum return on investment. If you have a woman who competes with you, it will really drain you. Number 3, kids education, taking your children to schools you can't afford. Some women push their men to take their kids to schools where paying school fees is really strains them. And a good example is DNA, who said her ex made him to pay over 100K as school fees for kids. Number 4, when a woman doesn't disclose how much she earns, a lack of transparency is a big red flag. Some women will be earning a lot of money, or they may be doing some projects, but they conceal from you and you are struggling financially. Example is a man who found out that the landlord of the plot he was living in was his own wife. Why men allow financial abuse? 1, men value their marriages. Secondly, men easily trust women. Number 3, we also say that it's a relatively new concept we are facing because we're in an era where women have been empowered. That's empowerment of women. Financial abuse in marriage. Financial abuse is a situation where one partner takes advantage of another. Majority of men stay in this relationship where they are abused for several reasons. Why? I think I've read that as a repetition. I'll copy another paste of it. But thank you so much, Moses Getao. It's always a pleasure to have you. And we also hope to have you in our live session so you can add on to this conversation. Moses Getao, done with today's summary. Thank you so much, my brother. Dennis Oseko. But most men who advise others have no families themselves. Hii life ni kuenda nayo vile iko. None of us is a master. Unajua advice tunapeana. Kama unataka kutuangalia ama angalia sisi hatuna shida. Unaona unangangana naye kwa mambo inasonga. Hii mambo ndio maana inaitwa advice. Advice is not a prescription. So you take it or leave it. Mambo inasonga. Robinson, the man of today is an endangered species. It's either a Kakenodia or a victim of marginalization. Bitok, team ongera for this show, man. Will rise. Asante sana. Sahili huku mihap kiongozi na mrembo. We. Sana kama tutaanza tena Cupid. Tutaanza session ya hookup. Kimomana. Waziri Brayo, kazi safi ndugu Bitok. Ikuwa na mzee mzima, Silas na Uncle Aliet. Alright. It's always a pleasure to have you, gentlemen. Asante sana. and the tackler. Man, if women becomes a headache, let her go. It's that simple. Ati kazi ana mambo mingi. Amesema ni kitu rahisi. Akikuwa kichwa, washara naye. Niliona ingine kwa matatu alikuwa ameandika mwanamke akiwa mang'aa mrudishe kwao. Right. It's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for coming in, gentlemen. Asante Silas for coming. Thanks, Jacob. Remember that you can get the books from these two gentlemen unplugged from Jacob Aliet, and also 50 memos to man about town exercised from Silas Nyanchwane. You put the numbers there, please call them up or reach them out on their social handles and devote to get your books. Please, even as you have these conversations, ensure that you can have a reference point. So get a book and read. Knowledge is power. Until tomorrow. So tomorrow, as usual, on The Tackle, we'll be having a special feature as an exclusive edition. Tomorrow, we'll be having an exclusive interview with Professor PLO Lumumba, talking about the state of the nation tomorrow morning from 7:30 a.m. So make sure that you can tune in tomorrow. We'll be having Professor PLO Lumumba giving us an insight into what the state of the nation looks like. Remember, I did a letter to the president and Raila Odinga on the state of the nation. There are some draft of requests that he made to the presidency and also to Raila Odinga that he expects and he thinks that the both of them needs to have a meeting point and ensure that this country sails in a better direction. Until tomorrow, this has been the men-only edition of the 23rd of March 2023. And it ends now. Good night and bye-bye. We love you.